What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video here on the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. As always, I am Joe Skirdo, your host. Before we get into the video, please subscribe to the channel if you have not. If you are new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you are reoccurring, we appreciate the support as always. And also like the video if you have actually liked it. I will be posting weekly Jets content along with weekly NFL content. And really wanted to dive in to the training camp eve episode, if you will. The Jets reported to camp today, Tuesday the 22nd. Tomorrow is when they actually, strap on the helmets and collide and practice. And that's when all the storylines head out. And I just want to kind of give my expectations of a Aaron Glenn run training camp, look through the depth chart to see potential risers and maybe guys that are potentially going to get cut who have been a Jet for the last couple of years. It's a new regime. They're not tied to anybody, probably besides Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. And so I think it's going to be very interesting in that aspect. But, them coming into camp today, isn't it just unbelievable how 1 year can make a difference? Drama-free. Just think of last year. You had Hassan Reddick holding out, just really dominating the headlines in a negative way, even though he spewed bullshit that he was ready to be a Jet after being traded from Philadelphia to New York. And he actually didn't put the pads on until, week 8, or at least the 8th game of the season when they played the New England Patriots. He was useless after that. It was just one of the worst trades the Jets have ever made. Congrats for getting $14 million from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, good luck. But there's none of that. There's no Aaron Rodgers going to Egypt, missing minicamp, and getting questions asked left and right about it the first day of training camp. It's walking in silence, and that's exactly what Aaron Glenn told everybody. That's what the Jets were going to do. We kind of expected a little shift in terms from going from Saleh to Aaron Glenn. Saleh was more of like just a nice guy, and he couldn't lie to the media. Aaron Glenn's all business, whether you think it's an act or not. I do not think it's an act. He's all business, and he just wants to focus on football. That's a big reason why Rodgers is gone. That's a big reason why you've seen a lot of roster change. That's a big reason why maybe they've only kept one coach from last year's regime, and Sean Jefferson, who's the wide receiver coach. So seeing the difference between 2024 and 2025 is crazy, but it's even funnier because last year the Jets were getting talked about being Super Bowl contenders. This year, ESPN ranked them as the 29th best roster. So that means they're the 4th worst roster in the NFL. But I will take this year all day over the stupid, dumb expectations that never happen. I would rather the Jets be kind of in the back, nobody talking about them, and maybe they will surprise. Maybe not. I don't have high expectations. I'm not saying the Jets are winning 9-10 games. I'm just saying I would rather do it this way than what the circus we've witnessed, especially over the last 2 years with Rodgers. And so the players arrived today. Sauce actually signed pen to paper. His contract is now official. He will be a Jet for the next 6 seasons. Another big thing, obviously, they had Wilson in the building a couple days ago. And they also signed pen to paper their last unsigned rookie in tight end Mason Taylor out of LSU. It was a league-wide thing that a lot of second rounders were kind of holding out. It was just kind of, delaying their signing because a lot of them wanted guaranteed contracts. Mason didn't get a fully guaranteed, but he got enough to be able to be happy and sign the contract and have no distractions heading into the season and heading into training camp. So you got your 2 superstars signed. You got your rookie signed because now rookies holding out is probably going to be a new thing thanks to NIL. There's nothing to worry about. It's just football now. It's football. It's winning games, and it's seeing what this team could do with this new regime. Well, let's dive into the roster. So this is not going to be like week 1 roster. There's obviously going to be changes. I believe starters and backups, most likely it's going to be week 1, especially on the offensive side. The real competition is going to be in special teams with kickers and punters. Maybe receiver 3 is going to be a competition too. But let's just start with the quarterback room, go down from there, go to the defense, go to the special teams. And then I'll maybe just give my opinions on each player. Not every player, but some players who I think could be potential risers or decliners going into this preseason. So, or training camp / preseason. So quarterback, of course, you replace Aaron Rodgers with Justin Fields. I haven't had the whole lot of opportunity to talk about Justin Fields. So, of course, Justin Fields signs a 2-year, $40 million contract going from the Steelers to the Jets. The Steelers wanted him back, but they probably didn't guarantee what the Jets did. The Jets signed him and immediately named him the starting quarterback. There's praise from offensive coordinator Tanner Angstrom. There's praise from head coach Aaron Glenn. There's praise from general manager Darren Muji. They really think that Justin Fields could be the guy. And if they do, and they had him on this contract is an absolute bargain. If it does not work out the way they liked it, it's not going to kill you. It's not crippling you. You know, you have 2 years, $40 million, and he's getting most of his money, I believe, this year. So if he doesn't turn out to be the guy, it's no big deal. That just probably means you're in the position to draft a rookie next season in a strong rookie class. Of course, Jets fans don't want that. We just want a quarterback. We want someone who's competent. Justin Fields has not been given really, a fair chance, I will say. Yes, this is the third team he's starting for. And yes, if, he does not exceed expectations, he probably will never be a guaranteed starting quarterback again. He'd have to compete for that position. But just look at his 2 years with the Chicago Bears. A terrible offensive line, just mediocrity and dysfunction in the head coach and front office. And it looks like as soon as they traded him, they were getting it right with general manager Ryan Poles, who really just changed that offensive line entirely. I think that offensive line is actually going to be really good this season. I don't know about the Bears. The Bears are just the same as the Jets. I just can't buy into the expectations actually until I see it with my eyes. Of course, you got Ben Johnson. So Caleb Williams in an unbelievable position to be successful. Justin Fields never had that. This guy was running for his life. This guy was getting smoked. He was getting injured, and he did show signs of really good, and then he showed signs of really bad, and that's usually what happens when you're in a dysfunctional situation. So the Bears gave up on him in a couple years, and then you go and trade. They really just trade him for a bag of Doritos to Pittsburgh. He gets the first 6 games because Russell Wilson is hurt. Goes 4-2, again, shows signs of really good and shows signs of, okay, he could be better. Maybe the deep throw could be better. Maybe his decision-making could be quicker. So that there was definitely things that you can nitpick of Justin Fields, but I thought he deserved to keep playing. It looked like the Russell Wilson decision was the right one right away, but then, the Steelers declined and they lost another, round 1 playoff game, which they really had no shot at. The Steelers wanted him after the free agency started, or really right when free agency started. It seemed like he was their number 1 guy. But, he goes to the Jets again because they guaranteed him a starting position, and they've been praising him. So there's a lot on Justin Fields' plate. I don't have a ton of expectations. I'm not going to go in and say that this is going to be the year. Like he's going to be a Sam Darnold, or he's going to be a Baker Mayfield, or he's going to be a Geno Smith. Highly touted draft picks who really didn't succeed in their first 2 or 3 destinations and finally got into the right situation, because we don't know if this is the right situation. We don't know what Tanner Angstrom is going to be as a first-time NFL offensive coordinator. We don't know what Aaron Glenn's going to be as a first-time NFL head coach. We don't know what Darren Muji is going to be in the front office as a first-time NFL general manager. There's a ton of question marks, especially on offense. Defense, you feel a little better with Steve Wilks. He's been there he's been a DC forever. He's been a head coach. He's been in the college level, the NFL level, you name it. But with the offense, it's question marks. And the offense concerns Justin Fields. So that's why I can't really put an expectation on Fields. Do I think he has talent? Yes. Do I think he needs to work on his downfield throwing and his decision-making and processing, his options to really determine what receiver to go to? And yes, he has a lot of work to do, but he has never had a good offensive line. And I think the Jets have that. You have 3 former first-round picks. Armand Membu, they grabbed him the 7th overall pick in this year's draft. And then you go Olu Fashanu. He was a top pick in last year's draft. And then AVT 2021, he was a top pick in the first round. You have 3 first-round draft picks on your offensive line. And then you have a really good center in Joe Tippmann, who was a second-round pick a couple years ago, and John Simpson, who perhaps was the best signing the Jets had last year in a season that there was really not a lot of good, but he was one of the few. He was one of the top-rated guards last year. I want to say he was top 10 according to Pro Football Focus. So he's going to have a much better offensive line, and he's going to have a crew of running backs who are pretty good. Breece Hall coming off a career worst year, of course. Again, not a lot of good happened for the Jets overall last year, but we know what Breece Hall is. We know what he can do. This is a guy who had the second most total yards in 2023, only behind a healthy Christian McCaffrey. That's pretty good. Had a really good rookie year until it ended abruptly because he tears his ACL. Probably would have won rookie of the year, I would say, over Garrett Wilson, to be quite honest with you. And then you have Braylon Allen, who, they draft they drafted both of these guys, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, late of last year's draft, and they showed signs of really good too. Braylon's a bruiser. He can be a guy in second and third and short situations, second and third and goal situations. This is a dude who's also very young. He was the youngest NFL player in the league last year. He was 20 years old. This is a young kid. He's a kid. He actually started playing. He was a freshman with Wisconsin when he was really supposed to be a senior in high school. So it's very raw. He has a lot of development to do, and I think we'll see that. And Isaiah Davis is kind of the dark horse. When Breece went down, he shocked a lot of us. I thought he was really good in the pass game. He held his own blocking-wise, and he's a hard, violent runner. So you have a good offensive line and a good running game. I think that's going to take the pressure off Justin Fields. You look at the wide receivers. Yes, well, let's be honest. This is a bad wide receiver room outside of Garrett Wilson. And that's why signing Garrett Wilson was a top priority for this team. It's really bad. Like, Allen Lazard has not been a good Jet. He has not been a fan favorite. Josh Reynolds, has he ever really been a consistent number 2? He's been a decent wide receiver in maybe a good room. He's had his times in Detroit, and he was with Denver last year and, in Tennessee, and he's kind of just a journeyman. He's a good veteran. Like, I like the addition of Josh Reynolds, but I don't like the fact that he's the second best option, but it just looks like that's what's going to happen. And you got the tight end room, who I think could be good. Mason Taylor potentially could be the second best option that Fields has, but even with a below average wide receiver group, an unknown tight end group, it's coming down to the offensive line giving him protection, taking really the pressure off his shoulders, and having a really good running game. Because if you have a good offensive line, most likely your running backs are going to have holes to find and extend downs and just extend drives. It's really going to help the quarterback, because Fields didn't really have that. And his sample size was simply too small last year with 6 games. Like, when he was playing full seasons with Chicago, he never had that. So this is what they need to do to make him successful. If he's throwing 20 times a game and Breece Hall's running for over 100 yards, the Jets are going to win games. I really do, because they got a good defense. But that's so unknown. Like, if I was to say today, is Justin Fields going to be really good this year? I would say probably not, because we haven't seen it. Like, I'm done having the expectation of someone who hasn't done it. Like, Jets fans love to do that. We did it with Zach Wilson. Like, we did it with Sam Darnold. Let's just see what Justin Fields can do. That's why I don't really have high expectations. I have high expectations for the defense. For the offense, it's totally unknown. I hope Justin Fields is the guy. Of course, he has the talent. He wouldn't have been a first-round draft pick if he didn't. We just got to see it. So, yeah, we already talked about, the running back room, receiving room a little bit, the offensive line, the tight end room. Tyrod Taylor, of course, backing up Justin Fields and being the backup for the Jets for the second consecutive year. The Jets fan favorite, Adrian Martinez, who probably will never sniff an NFL field. He's the third-string quarterback. Brady Cook, he's an undrafted quarterback out of Missouri who they snagged because they did not draft one. Again, tells you they have a lot of confidence in Justin Fields. But yes, of course, the concern with the wide receivers here is after Garrett Wilson. Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, 4th-round rookie draft pick Aaron Smith, Malachi Corley, Tyler Johnson coming from the Rams to the Jets, Xavier Gibson. I mean, these are not top-tier targets. I would not be surprised if Malachi Corley or Xavier Gibson, or honestly both, get cut. it's kind of frustrating because you got guys like Gabe Davis out there in free agency, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, even though I think he's kind of washed up, still better than everyone besides Garrett Wilson on this list. DJ Chark, he has the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions, connection there. But I'm definitely worried about this receiving room. You lose Devontae Adams, that really hurts. Josh Reynolds, again, never really been a wide receiver two. Alan Lazardi's not even close to wide receiver two. I really wish they added another wide receiver, but there's also a ton of guys on this list. Like, all these guys are going to make the roster. If Corley doesn't go out there and really wow everybody, I think he's going to get cut. I really do. Like, I wouldn't blame them for doing that because A, they didn't draft him. B, he was hurt through OTAs and minicamp. And yeah, you can't blame that on him, but this is do or die from Malachi Corley. It really is. Like, you have to prove that you're the guy. And I honestly don't even think it works in his favor that Sean Jefferson is back as the coach, because he already knows what he is, unless he's like, whoa, this is a different guy. That's his only advantage there, having his old wide receiver coach. So I definitely think he could be a cut candidate. Xavier Gibson totally could be a cut candidate, but he does have the fact that he could return punts on his side. Even though we thought Corley could have potentially been that guy when he got drafted, he was never given the opportunity. He had probably the worst rookie season imaginable, coming in with a lot of expectations. The Jets loved him. Fans fell in love with him, bought into the hype, of course, because that's all last year was hype. It didn't work out. Aaron Smith's going to be interesting. He was a name that got thrown, kind of got thrown all over the place during minicamp, that he really impressed because he's fast. He's one of the fastest guys in the draft coming out of Georgia, but he's had drop issues. He's had issues of really accelerating and getting to his routes. What is he going to do when he puts the pads on? We'll see. He's not the biggest guy, so he's going to have to really use his speed as an advantage. Could he be a riser? I absolutely think he can be. I think really when you look at this, he's the guy you look at because you haven't seen what he has yet. We simply don't know. So the expectation is he could be really good, or he could be Malachi Corley. But if I had to pick a guy in the group, who I think could be better than, what we're looking at, I definitely think it's Arian Smith. I totally think Josh Reynolds is a competent wide receiver. I would just feel a lot more comfortable if he was the third option rather than the second option. Tight ends, Mason Taylor, you got to have expectations there. Jeremy Ruckert, I'm not nearly as high as Jeremy Ruckert. I mean, I see every year, this is his breakout season. Now he has Justin Fields. I can't get on the Jeremy Ruckert bandwagon. I really can't. Just little time that he's played, he's made costly penalties. He's made bad drops. I think Stone Smart will be the second tight end there. I really do. Stone Smart actually is an NFL tight end. He showed some signs of really good last year when he got opportunities for the Chargers. So I don't think you go and sign him if you think he's just going to be the third or fourth guy. I think Ruckert's going to slide into the third. And, Ruckert could even be a surprise cut. I don't think he would be. He would be way more surprising than Malachi Corley or Xavier Gibson, but he totally could be. Like, he totally could, because there's also guys like Noah Fant out there in free agency. So I'm not sold on Jeremy Ruckert. I think Stone Smart's going to be number 2. Ruckert will be 3. And then, fullback is fullback. The offensive line, we kind of talked about it. High expectations here. They got to stay healthy, but they do have depth there as well. Max Mitchell's played a lot of games. Josh Myers, who they got from Green Bay's played a lot of games as a starting center. Carter Warren, Xavier Newman, those guys just got to stay healthy. So, the offensive line, the sky is the limit, but we just got to see it. And let's just go to the defense. So right now they have the Jets playing 4-3. And you look at it here. This defense should be good. I think the defensive line, there's still question marks, especially on the edge. Jermaine Johnson coming off an Achilles injury. It's really hard to come back and prove that you're the guy you once were right away. Usually it takes about a year. I think Jermaine Johnson is going to be a factor, but I don't think he's going to really show us his maximized potential this year. Totally could be next year, but he could still be a factor. And, he's a fan favorite. I love Jermaine Johnson. I think he has all the talent in the world. He showed it to us before he got hurt last season. Will McDonald, this is a breakout candidate. You could say he broke out last year, but I still think he has a lot of work to do. He wasn't that 3-down edge rusher. He was more of that guy that when they were passing, they were putting McDonald on the field because he wasn't totally good, um, kind of affecting the run. And he gained weight. He gained muscle to really try to be that dog, to try to be a 3-down edge rusher. So I'm excited to see Will McDonald there. Quinnen Williams is a set and forget guy at the D tackle position, but that second D tackle position is going to be a competition. You have a lot of new faces, in Noddy and Cowart, and Leonard Taylor coming back. It's not the greatest group there, but if one or two of those guys can really prove themselves, I think you'll be okay in the defensive front. I don't know how Michael Clemens is on the roster. I think every Jets fan would love for him to get cut. He's been nothing but a headache, but here he is, listed as the second right defensive end right now, going into training camp. The Jets linebacking room, overall, it's okay. You have the dogs and Quincy Williams and Jamie Sherwood. Everything else is pretty much a question mark. Sherwood and Williams are going to be the generals over there in that defense. I think Quincy is going to get back on track. I'm not going to say he's going to be an all-pro like he was in 2023, but a lot of these guys are going to get back on track. Like Quinnen even wasn't as great as last year, and neither was Sauce Gardner. Really the only guy who was like, wow, last season was Jamie Sherwood, and then Will McDonald was very good, but I don't think he was quite as good as Jamie Sherwood. Of course, Sherwood got the bag this year from the new regime again. So the linebacking crew, I think they'll be okay with Sherwood and Williams. It's going to be interesting to see now those guys with, leadership qualities without CJ Mosley, who of course retired early in the offseason. And then the corner room looks a little different when, of course, Sauce Gardner leading the way, but you got new guys like Brandon Stevens going from the Ravens and signing with the Jets in the offseason. Zay Thomas, the 3rd-round pick out of Florida State. And even in the safety room, Andre Sisco coming from Jacksonville to the Jets, signing a 1-year deal. Brandon Stevens signed a multi-year deal, so they must have a lot of confidence in him. They like the big athletic corners. Now they got 2 of them with Sauce and Stevens. Of course, you got Quantez Stiggers, who, was the talk of last season, really going from the CFL to the NFL without playing college football. And then Tony Adams and Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore was is going to be a rookie safety out of Alabama. When I'm looking at these groups, I think he's going to hop Tony Adams, and I think Tony Adams is also a really a potential guy who could be cut. How can I forget about Michael Carter? Obviously, him and Isaiah Oliver are going to be, the more of those nickelbacks. I don't know why he's over Michael Carter. That's really weird, but I like Isaiah Oliver too. Just a very underrated Swiss Army knife type of guy. But Tony Adams. This was a guy last year who Woody Johnson literally went to the coaches and said, we need to bench him because he was playing so poorly. So I can't imagine that he's got a big leash going in to this season. And, they don't just draft Malachi Moore for nothing. This is a guy who they really liked, who I honestly really liked. I was surprised that he even fell that much. I believe they got him in the 4th round. And I totally can see him, I think I would rather have him start over Tony Adams. I think the Tony Adams, train kind of passed. And I definitely think he could be a for sure, potential cut candidate for the Jets, especially if Moore shows up and you kind of know what you have in Sisco. So the defense should be much better. Just because you add Steve Wilkes and you add Aaron Glenn as the head coach, it's just too good of a defense. There's definitely holes. Like nothing's perfect. I think the defensive tackle room needs work and the safety room needs work. And the linebacker room is very top heavy and like 2 really good ones. And then you kind of have to, hope that one of these guys steps up, really. I mean, depending on what we're going to see from them, most likely 4-3 with Wilkes. But, the defense should be the group that we should be the least amount of concerned about when you're talking offense, defense, special teams. So the Jets defense was so bad last year, but they were still like second in total yards, and that's kind of more of a deceiving stat because when you're in the eye test, they were really bad last year, and this was a defense who has been really, really good 2 years prior to that in 2022 and 2023. I do think they'll get back on track. I think the new regime, helps. I think their defense really just lost it once they fired Saleh last year, and Ulbrich was all over the place trying to be a head coach, which he was awful at, and also running the defense, but really didn't even run the defense. It was an absolute mess. So I really think you have too many good guys over here with Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, Quentin Williams, Sherwood, Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, Cisco. I'm excited about Brandon Stevens, but Zay Thomas. That is the guy who I'm really excited about. Him and Mason Taylor are the two rookies who I was really, really, really excited about, who I think they could be, impactful players right away. Of course, we hope Membu's there too because he used the first-round draft pick. But, those picks in the second and third round, I was super pumped about. So I'm interested to see what Thomas can do. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get. You don't give Stevens that contract for him not to start and take almost every snap. But of course, in certain coverages, you'll see Thomas out there who's a really good press coverage corner. And then lastly, the most exciting part, special teams. Yay, punt returner. They got Xavier Gibson. And I started with him because, that's probably his way onto the roster. Isaiah Davis, you'll probably see him, a little bit too. Thomas Hennessy, reliable. He's been there forever through I think this might be the fourth regime that Thomas Hennessy's been on. He's just going to be the long snapper forever until he retires. But I think if Gibson could beat out Isaiah Davis in the punt return, kick return, competition, he's going to get a roster spot because he's not earning a roster spot if he's not a returner. He's simply just not a good enough wide receiver to do that. The kicker and punter, that is the most concerning to me because last year they sucked. Greg the Leg, we all know about it. We all know what happened. Cost them games, despite what you want to say. He was horrendous. Now you have 4 first-year guys and kickers and punters, guys who've never played an NFL game before. I believe, thicker kicker, Harrison Mavis, he was a last-year guy, but he never saw time in the NFL. He's never done that. He went to the XFL, he dominated. That's why he's given a chance. Caden Davis also is going to be competition. Then you got Austin McNamara and Kai Kroger. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but these are a bunch of unknown guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what I'm talking about. Just over appearance, I hope Harrison Mavis is good so he can be the starting kicker because who doesn't want a 250-pound kicker who kicks bombs? And he did. He is the longest kick for an SEC kicker of all time. I believe it was 64 yards in a game winner against Kansas State. So I'm not taking a lot of time with this. We'll see. We really hope that the special teams isn't nearly as bad. I like the hiring of Banjo, a guy who was a really good special teams player himself. I don't know how much he knows about kicking and kickers and punters, but we'll have to see. Hold your breath on that. I don't have high expectations there. I think it's going to be another frustrating year because the Jets love to have shitty kickers and shitty punters, and we finally thought they had the guy with Greg the Leg and Thomas Morstead. Greg the Leg just disintegrates. Morstead gets cut, and then we're starting all over again. But that's really what I wanted to do. Dive into the depth chart, kind of spew a little bit here. Cannot wait to see all of the hype, and that probably doesn't mean anything, but that's why I'm going to keep jumping on here when someone that does really well. I'm going to jump on here when someone does really bad. I'm just going to buy into the hype here. Buy into the hype, whether it's good or bad, because that's all we really have to do until another 7 weeks until NFL kickoff. Appreciate it if you all stayed this long. I did not think this video was going to be about 30 minutes, but that's just what it turned out to be. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Like the video if you liked it, and kudos to you if you lasted this long. And I'm not offended if you didn't. But we'll be back, right? There's going to be plenty to report. We'll be back. Joe Skirter here as always. See ya.